I'm going to ask you a question, and I want you to answer with absolute honesty. Do you feel like you're at the end of something? Not the end of a day, a week, or a project, the end of an entire phase, as if everything you have lived, the struggles, the defeats, the small victories, the nights you cried without knowing why, had been a path that now leads to a point where there is no turning back. If this feeling exists within you, if there is a weight in your chest that is not sadness but is not joy either, which feels more like the tension of someone about to jump and has already leaned forward, but whose feet have not yet left the ground, then stay here. Because this video is about that exact second, the second before the jump. And what I am going to reveal to you now will determine whether you jump with your eyes open, or if you retreat once more into the comfort of a cycle that you already know no longer belongs to you. Let's get straight to the point. There is a difference that most people ignore, and this ignorance costs years of life. The difference between the courage to fight and the courage to let go. The whole world has trained you for the first. Since you were a child, you heard, "Don't give up, hold on tight, fight harder, turn things around," and that served its purpose. In many moments of your life, the courage to fight was what kept you standing. But there is a moment, and I believe you are in it now, where the courage to fight becomes the prison itself. Because you are fighting to keep standing a structure that has already fulfilled its function. You are spending heroic energy to sustain what should be being released, and every time you manage to hold on for one more day, one more week, one more month, you feel like you've won. But the victory tastes like defeat. Because deep down, the most lucid part of you knows, I am not fighting for my life, I am fighting against it. Researchers from the Department of Psychiatry at UniFesp published a series of studies on what they call maintenance exhaustion. The burnout that occurs when a person spends most of their psychic energy not to advance, not to create, not to grow, but simply to keep things as they are.
Attention, you need to prepare now. I put together an exclusive resource for those who feel set apart for something greater, but live surrounded by noise, distractions, and mental overload. This is a 30-day journey that will transform your life, a guided path to armor your mind and prepare for what's coming, with daily practices of focus, boundaries, and discipline. Stop negotiating with the noise. Learn to spot distractions before they control you and strengthen your mind. Also available in an immersive audio version. Over 10,000 readers have already transformed their lives through the 30-day journey. Thousands of people have already started this transformation. People like you, who were tired of living in the fog, ordinary people who decided to stop accepting mental chaos. Take advantage of this limited time offer only this month. Access your link just below in the pinned comment.
The data reveals that adults between 35 and 55 years old are the group most vulnerable to this type of exhaustion, because they are precisely the people who built complex life structures, consolidated careers, families, social commitments, reputation, and now spend more energy sustaining these structures than living within them. The researchers' conclusion is direct. Maintenance exhaustion is only resolved when the individual accepts that maintaining is no longer the goal, that the next step is not to hold on tighter, it is to open the hand. If this describes what you are experiencing, leave a like now. This gesture is a marker. It is you saying, I recognize that I am at this point, and it helps this content reach other people who are spending everything they have to keep standing something that needs to be released. Now I'm going to show you something in the biblical text that will function as a mirror so precise it will be difficult to look at. Peter. You probably know the scene. The disciples are in the boat in the middle of a storm at dawn, and Jesus walks on the water. Peter says, "If it is you, command me to come to you on the water." And Jesus says a single word, "Come," and Peter leaves the boat. Most sermons on this passage focus on the moment Peter sinks, the lack of faith, the fear, the shifting of the gaze. But I need you to look at the moment before, the moment he left the boat, because that moment contains a mechanic that is exactly what you need to understand now. The Greek word used to describe Peter's action is katebe, from the verb katabainos, to descend. Peter descended from the boat. He didn't jump. He didn't dive, he descended. And katabaino carries a dimension that the word descend in English does not fully capture. It is a movement that implies leaving a high or secure position toward a lower or unknown plane. Peter was not descending toward something solid. He was descending toward the water, toward the unstable, toward what should not sustain a human body. And he did it with his eyes open, knowing that logic said he was going to sink. I want you to understand the rational madness of this gesture. Peter was in a boat. The boat was unstable. It was in the middle of a storm, but it was a boat. It was a known structure. It was what he knew worked. Leaving the boat meant abandoning the only structure that made sense in that context. And he left, not because he wasn't afraid. He left with the fear. And here is the detail that connects this directly to your life. Before Peter sank, he walked. The text is clear. He walked on the water, not for long, not with perfection, but he walked. In other words, the impossible sustained him. For a moment, the surface that should not have held his weight held it. And that moment, however brief it was, proved that the rock bottom he feared did not exist, that the ground he was going to step on after the boat was not the abyss. It was something that could only be discovered after taking the step. You are in the boat now. And the boat is everything you know, your routine, your constructed identity, the relationships that keep you in place, the habits that are more comfort than purpose. The boat works, precariously, in the storm, taking on water, but it works. And the voice calling you, that restlessness that doesn't stop, that feeling that there is something on the other side, is saying just one word: come. And what separates you from the next phase of your life is not preparation. It is not more information, it is not more time, it is the katabaino. It is the decision to descend from what is safe to step on what has not yet been tested. Now I need to bring a concept that will anchor all of this in your practical reality, because without it, this story remains beautiful but distant. The Hebrew word batach appears more than 100 times in the Hebrew Bible, and its translation as trust is correct but incomplete. Batach is not intellectual trust. It is not believing that something will work out. Batach is the trust that expresses itself in vulnerability. It is the trust of one who lies down. The root of batach is linked to the image of a person who throws themselves on the ground on their back, exposing their chest, the most vulnerable position possible. Batach is trusting to the point of exposing oneself. Researchers in the field of Hebrew studies at the Federal University of Santa Catarina analyzed the use of batach in crisis contexts in Old Testament texts and identified a consistent pattern. Batach is never exercised in conditions of safety. Every occurrence of batach happens in situations where visible evidence says there is no reason to trust. It is trust against the evidence, not out of naivety, out of discernment, because the person who practices batach perceives something that the evidence does not yet show. This is what separates you from the next step. It is not courage in the sense of bravery. It is batach, the willingness to place yourself in a vulnerable position because something inside you, something deeper than logic, older than fear, recognizes that the ground will appear beneath your foot, not before the step, after. Subscribe to the channel now and turn on the bell. The content that follows will deal directly with what happens in the first days after you take that step, and why those days are the most dangerous and the most fertile of your reconstruction. Don't miss it. Now let's go to the second level, because up to here I have shown you the mechanics of the step, but I need to show you what happens when you finally let go, what comes after the kenosis, the emptying we discussed before, because emptying without filling is just loss. And what fills the space that opens when you let go is something that has a name, a structure, and a logic that will surprise you. There is a Greek word that appears in the New Testament texts and describes a process of completion that has no exact equivalent in English: katartizo. This word is fascinating because it carries simultaneous meanings that seem contradictory. Katartizo means at the same time to mend, to restore, and to perfect. In the Gospel texts, katartizo is used to describe fishermen mending nets, In Pauline texts, it is used to describe the process of spiritual maturation. And in the letter to the Hebrews, it is used to describe the very creation of the world. Researchers from the Psychological Science Program of the American Psychological Association published studies on what they call post-disruptive growth, the process of reorganization that happens in individuals who have gone through significant identity ruptures. And what they documented mirrors exactly the three meanings of katartizo. First, to mend. The person gathers the fragments of what broke and identifies what is still usable. They don't throw everything away. They recognize what, even coming from the previous phase, still has value and can be integrated into the new structure. Second, to restore. The person reconstructs their personal narrative, not inventing a new story from scratch, but reinterpreting the story they lived under a lens that finally makes sense. Third, to perfect. The new structure is not a repetition of the old one with adjustments. It is a version that incorporates everything learned in the dismantling and uses that wisdom as a foundation. This is fundamental for you now, because the temptation when letting go of an old life is to want to erase everything, to burn the boats, as they say. But katartizo teaches the opposite. It is not about erasing, it is about integrating. The years you lived in the structure that is now being released were not wasted. Each of them gave you something, a skill, a lesson, a resilience that the new phase will need. You are not throwing your life away. You are mending, restoring, and perfecting. And here enters the second story, which will give you the clearest image of this process. Esther. Esther was a young Jewish woman who became queen of Persia. She lived within a power structure that was not hers. The Persian court, with its rules, its protocols, its rigid hierarchy. And when the moment came when the survival of her people depended on an action of hers, Esther faced a choice that mirrors exactly what you are experiencing. She needed to present herself before the king without being invited. By Persian law, anyone who presented themselves to the king without a summons could be killed, unless the king extended the scepter. The phrase Esther utters before going is one of the densest in the entire biblical narrative. If I perish, I perish. In Hebrew, Vekasher avadti avadti. The word avadti comes from avad, to perish, to be destroyed. But there is a dimension in this phrase that goes beyond passive acceptance of death. When Esther says, "If I perish, I perish," she is not saying, "I am resigned to die." She is saying, "I accept that the version of me that existed until now may not survive what I am about to do, and I am at peace with that." Researchers from the Center for Identity Narrative Studies at the University of Brasilia analyzed this pattern in biblical texts and in contemporary accounts of life change and found a remarkable correspondence. They called it the moment of irreversible consent, the instant in which the person consents to the possibility of total loss as a condition for acting according to their deepest truth. This moment is, according to the researchers, the most reliable marker that the transformation will sustain itself. Because as long as the person negotiates, as long as they try to ensure they won't lose anything, that everything will work out, that the result is safe, they are operating from the boat, from the old structure. Irreversible consent is Peter's katabaino. It is Abraham's lech lecha. It is batash with the whole body. Comment the word crossing down here now. This word is not a comment, it is a declaration. It is you saying, "I consent. I accept that what comes next may require me to lose a version of myself that has accompanied me until now. And I am ready." When you write crossing, you are marking the moment of your irreversible consent. Now I need to take you to the final point, because everything I have said up to here converges into a single revelation. And this revelation is not mystical, it is practical. It is the most concretely useful thing I can give you. The Hebrew root avar means to cross, to pass from one side to another, to traverse. It is the same root as ivri, which is the term that gives rise to the word Hebrew. Researchers of historical semantics from the Federal University of Minas Gerais point out that ivri, before being an ethnonym, was a description. The one who crosses to the other side, the one who leaves one territory and enters another. Abraham was called Ivri. not because he belonged to an ethnicity, but because he crossed. He did Avar. He crossed a border from which there is no return. And this route, Avarkan, contains within itself a truth that closes the entire map we have built throughout this series. The crossing is not what happens after you prepare. The crossing is the preparation. You do not prepare and then cross. You cross, and in the act of crossing you become prepared. Peter was not prepared to walk on water. He prepared himself by walking. Esther was not prepared to face the king. She prepared herself by going. Abraham was not prepared for the promised land. He prepared himself by walking there. This dismantles the last trap in which you may be stuck now, the trap of perpetual preparation. The idea that you need more time, more knowledge, more certainty, more clarity before acting. This idea seems like prudence, but it is fear dressed as responsibility. Data from the Sebrae Entrepreneurship Report shows that among Brazilians who plan to start a significant professional change, the average time between the first internal decision and concrete action is 4 years. 4 years of preparation that in most cases is not preparation. It is postponement. It is the refusal to do Avar. I know what is happening inside you now. You heard everything I said, and one part recognizes every word as truth, and another part is already making the list of reasons why now is not the moment. I don't have enough money. I can't disappoint the people who depend on me. I first need to resolve this pending issue, and I'm not saying these concerns are invalid. I'm saying they will always exist. There will always be a reason to stay in the boat. There will always be a list of pending items that justifies not crossing. The question is not whether the reasons are real. The question is whether they are greater than the truth that is burning inside you. Let me tell you the third story, and it closes everything. Elisha was a farmer. He worked in the field, plowing with 12 yoke of oxen. He had a functional, productive, respectable life. And then Elijah passed by him and threw his mantle over Elisha's shoulders. He said nothing. He didn't explain. He didn't give a 5-step plan. He threw the mantle and kept walking. And what Elisha did is the detail that changes everything. He killed the oxen he worked with, used the plow as firewood to cook the meat, and served it to the people. And then he followed Elijah. Most readings interpret this as sacrifice, but the Hebrew text reveals something more specific. The word used to describe what Elisha did with the oxen is zavak, which is the word for ritual sacrifice, for an offering. Elisha did not destroy his old life out of anger or despair. He offered it. He transformed the instruments of the life he had, the oxen, the plow, into food for others. The old life was not thrown away, it was converted. What sustained Elisha began to sustain the people, and with empty hands he crossed. This is Ava, it is the complete crossing. It is the last step. And what makes the last step the most difficult is not the unknown that lies ahead. It is the known that you leave behind. The field, the oxen, the plow, the routine that works, the life that makes sense to everyone, except for the voice burning inside you. Researchers from the Department of Studies on Behavior and Change at the Federal University of Paraná documented that the most determining factor in the consolidation of a life change is not the quality of the plan, nor the size of the available resources. It is what they call ritualized closure, the conscious and deliberate act of marking the end of the previous phase. People who simply slide from one phase to another without marking the closure show significantly higher rates of regression to the old pattern. But those who create a moment of closure, whether symbolic, practical, or relational, consolidate the transition with more depth. Elisha did not leave the field in silence. He killed the oxen, cooked the meat, fed the people. He created a moment of closure that was impossible to reverse. There were no oxen to go back to plowing. There was no plow to go back to using. The back door was closed, and perhaps that is what is missing for you. Not more reflection, not more understanding, not more videos, more books, more advice. What is missing is the closure. The moment when you, with full consciousness and total responsibility, close the door of the phase that ended. Not with anger, with gratitude and with firmness, recognizing that that phase brought you here, but that here is where it ends. I will close with the synthesis, and I want you to record this. Peter shows you that the last step is katabaino, descending from what is safe to step on what only reveals itself after the step. Esther shows you that the crossing requires irreversible consent, the acceptance that the old version of you may not survive, and that this is acceptable. Elisha shows you that the closure needs to be real, that as long as the oxen are alive and the plow is whole, the temptation to go back will be greater than the courage to move forward. And the word that connects everything is Ava, to cross to the other side, to become Ivri, the one who passed, who made the crossing, who left one territory and entered another without the possibility of return. Today, before you go to sleep, I want you to do something concrete. Identify one thing in your life that you know, not think, not suspect, know, needs to be closed. It could be a habit, it could be a commitment, it could be a way of thinking about yourself, and perform the closure, not gradually, not partially, completely. Say, this ends today, and act accordingly, not because it is easy, but because as long as you don't close the back door, all the energy that should be building the new is being drained by the old. You have no idea what comes next. And that is the most beautiful part, because if you knew, you would try to control it, you would try to plan it, you would try to fit the unknown inside the old form. And the unknown does not fit in the old form. It needs clean space, it needs empty hands, it needs someone who did Ava, who crossed, and who is standing on the other side, available, present, ready. Batach. Trusting with the whole body, exposing the chest without guarantee. That is the last step. And it is not the last, because afterward there is nothing more. It is the last because after it, everything changes. If you know someone who is in the boat, holding on with all their strength to a structure that no longer sustains, spending everything to maintain what should be released, share this video with that person now. It may be that the gesture of sending this message is the Ava of both of you. In the next video, I will reveal what happens on the other side of the crossing, what changes in your body, in your relationships, in the way you perceive time, because the other side is not what you imagine. It is radically different, and if you enter without knowing this, you may confuse arrival with loss. Turn on the bell. This content is the direct continuation. I'll see you in the next one.
Attention, you need to prepare now. I put together an exclusive resource for those who feel set apart for something greater, but live surrounded by noise, distractions, and mental overload. This is a 30-day journey that will transform your life, a guided path to armor your mind and prepare for what's coming, with daily practices of focus, boundaries, and discipline. Stop negotiating with the noise. Learn to spot distractions before they control you and strengthen your mind. Also available in an immersive audio version. Over 10,000 readers have already transformed their lives through the 30-day journey. Thousands of people have already started this transformation. People like you who were tired of living in the fog, ordinary people who decided to stop accepting mental chaos. Take advantage of this limited time offer only this month. Access your link just below in the pinned comment.